Hey, I'm back. Um, what if we just like skip the whole spiel about how I have low energy and I'm healing from some stuff and I'm behind and I'm not making videos at the rate that I wish I was making videos at. I love and appreciate all of you who watch and comment and subscribe and all of that. I had some very beautiful, gracious, supportive comments on my last video, and I'm really, really appreciative right now of everybody watching and everybody who has commented in the past. I'm just going through a rough patch and I'm working on it, right? So I have done a lot of knitting, as one does in a rough patch. I have a lot of projects to show, and I'm tired today and I'm kind of struggling with a headache, but I really can't think of another time coming up that I'm going to be able to do this. And I have a couple more videos that I'm planning to film soon, which, as we know, I already have a backlog of stuff to release. But thanks as ever for your patience. And I thought we could at least do a little update podcast about some of the projects that I have been working on. I'm wearing my little Luca cardigan today, which I do love, but this keeps happening. This yarn refuses to block in the right direction. I only steam blocked it because it's acrylic, and while this yarn is so cute and the stitch definition is excellent, and I love that, it is like a little crispy. Like, it does feel like a little plasticky against my skin, which, not in the worst way. It is very breathable. Today it was over 70 degrees out and I've been wearing this all day because it works for this sort of weather, in my opinion. It's very lightweight and airy. It's good for warm weather, but you win some, you lose some. There's pros and cons. So I do love this. If you're interested about the details about this sweater or any of the projects I'm about to talk about, check out the link to my Ravelry page, which is always in the description. I'm much better about including the details about my projects on my Ravelry projects page than I am about remembering to say them out loud when I'm talking on a podcast. So the dog just settled down behind me. Okay. I guess we'll start with finished objects, which I was going to say 2, but I have 3 because I almost forgot about the one that I'm sitting on. So this one was, first of all, if you're wondering, just the most perfect little serotonin mental health project. I cast this on, I guess it's not a cast on, it's a crochet project, but I decided to start this on an absolute whim. This is the Asterid pillow by Mallory Crawl. I think naughty crawl. It's not, like, naughty crawl sounds like naughty, but it's like nautical, but her name is Crawl, so like nautical crochet. It's beautiful, and I had seen Knits do this recently. The pattern is written for a 10-pack of mini skeins from Sorella, and that's what Amy of Knits used. Excuse me. And that's what I used too. I had a 10-pack of minis that has been in my stash for a little over a year. I got them in, like, Sorella does these little gift boxes, and my husband had purchased one for me a couple years ago where it was like a 10-pack of minis, and it included some of their wool wash and a jar of the hand cream and the tea and all the products that Sorella is famous for doing. And I had been waiting for a good project to use this for. I didn't know what to do with 10 small amounts of beautiful colors because I want them to stay together. And that's what this pillow was designed for. And honestly, I saw Knits making it and I thought it was so pretty and it just looked so satisfying. And I just love the like flower sort of texture of this type of granny square. And I just decided to go for it. So this is all from stash, and it worked up so fast, and it really it brought me back a little bit. I've been having a hard time lately, and this really helped to ground me. This was a really, really enjoyable project, and I loved doing it, and I swear it took like a couple days. It took me less than a week. I did all of the squares in like 2 evenings, and then I think I spent 2 or 3 more evenings joining them together. Maybe not even that long. I don't remember. You'd have to look at the project page because that actually has the dates on it. I don't remember. Anyway, I didn't even have to buy a pillow form because I'm a hoarder and I have several vacuum sealed bags of old throw pillows that we don't use anymore in a closet upstairs, because I know that things like this pop up and I never want to have to buy a pillow form again, right? Because why would I throw out like a dozen pillows and then in the future go out and buy a pillow? So this was, I don't know if you can see the color through it. I think it's actually kind of nice that it's not like a stark white pillow form showing through. It is a sort of like steel blue color. And this side actually has a pattern on it, but this side was just solid blue. And it was like an old throw pillow that came with a cheap comforter set that we had in our apartment like over 10 years ago. So that's what I get. That is another nice serotonin boost that I always appreciate, is finding a use for something that anybody else would have told you is useless junk, but you know someday you're going to use it. And there's nothing better than like finding a use for like old junk or like hardware that came with a flat pack piece of furniture that was extra pieces that you probably could have thrown out, but you thought you might save, and then it comes in handy for something. That's the best feeling. So that's my Asterid pillow. Highly, highly recommend. It was so fun to make and so quick, and I think it's super, super pretty. And even though, like I said, that pack of minis was a gift, so I didn't select the color palette. Sorella always has gorgeous, gorgeous color palettes, and that's what they're famous for, is having these great overall palettes that work together as opposed to just individual colors. Even though all the colors are individual on their own, they really sing when they're in a group. And I didn't even pick the pack of minis, but it ended up working perfectly, and it really suits our decor in this room, which is our entryway, which is open to the living room, where we have a lot of grays and kind of muted like mustard and red and green and blue. Like that's like a lot of colors. That's most of the rainbow. Okay, I get that. But there's a lot of deep muted colors mixed in, mainly mustard and red and gray, but then there's also hints of deep green and deep blue. So I think that these colors work perfectly in here, and I'm very, very pleased with it. And it has been nice. Every time I walk by and I see it, it does make me smile. So again, very much recommended. I took Excedrin for my headache, and I think it's making me like chatter. I feel like I'm talking a lot, but I guess that's good for a podcast. All right, next finished object, which last time I had started but was not much, was not far along, I mean, is my Cool Like You top, which was a test knit for Little Samples. This is her first pattern, and honestly, I think she did a really great job. The pattern was quite well written. There were a few hiccups in it, but that's the case with everybody. And for somebody that I'm pretty sure didn't have a technical editor, she did an awesome job. And I gave her my feedback on it already, and I sent her my finished measurements. This is already blocked. If you can't tell by how drapey and lovely it is, it definitely just blossomed when blocking. And it really, really opened up this stitch texture. I can't talk. I mean, I can talk, but I can't talk. So this is actually the same stitch texture as the Luca cardigan. It's the Andalusian stitch, which is, as I talked about on here before, super, super simple. I think it's gorgeous, but it's very easy to keep track of. It's not one of those stitch textures where you really have to kind of pay attention to it. This is 3 rows of stockinette and 1 row of 1x1 rib. So like knit 1, purl 1, and then 3 rows of knit. And it's so easy. This is effectively 2 panels worked the same with a little neck and armhole shaping, and then you seam them together and do ribbing around the edges. And it was really fun. I'm not sure exactly when she's planning to release the pattern, but I loved it. As we talked about before, I needed more than 2 skeins of yarn for this. I thought I would need just 2 based on the estimates that the designer wrote, but she didn't have the feedback from testers yet because I was one of them. So I ended up using a lot more than her estimate, and I needed to buy a 3rd skein. And I used about half of that, possibly even more than half. I don't remember. I did weigh this to give her the exact weight that I used so I could be very precise with the yardage. But I really love it. And honestly, it fits really well too. I think this yarn was a good choice. The drape fits very nicely. When I was making it, I was like, this is fun to make and all, but it's like a rectangle, right? So how good can it look on a human body because it's just a parallelogram? And pretty good. Oh, I shouldn't swear. It looks pretty good. I'm in a mood. The drape makes it fit really nice, and it's like it's much more form-fitting that's not the word for it, because it's still very oversized, but it's flattering in a way that I was afraid it was going to be boxy and like oversized and kind of obscure my figure, and it doesn't. I think it drapes in some nice places. So I also recommend this one, but again, I don't know when she's releasing the pattern, but very fun to make. And then I have one more finished object, which also quite oversized. This is my cottage core crop, which I started last year and kind of put away. It hibernated for the winter, and I got it out and I recently finished it. I don't believe I've blocked this one yet. There's a lot of curling issues with the bottom edge and the sleeves. I did wear it once despite that, but I think I do need to give it a little block. I think that will help a lot. If you can't tell, it is very oversized. This garment is supposed to be knit with an amount of positive ease, but this is way more than I accounted for. And I haven't double checked since I finished it or anything to make sure that my gauge was on point or if I made any mistakes or anything. So I absolutely can't say that it's attributable to the pattern. It's more likely it's attributable to me, but I do like how it came out. It is really quite large. Like I said, I wore it once. It's large enough that I feel like I need to wear an entire garment underneath it. Like the day I wore it last week, I had a sort of crop top underneath it, which it's long enough that it covers up the crop part, so it looks decent, but it's the neck hole especially is very big, so sometimes I was having like unintentional off the shoulder moments. A detail that I do love about this is these buttons, if you can see them, because I have a big stash of vintage buttons and secondhand buttons, as I'm sure you've seen if you've been on the channel before. If you haven't been here before, welcome. Weird time to come in, but I'm happy to have you nonetheless, and I hope you like what you see here. But anyway, these buttons came from a vintage pack in my stash, and I thought the color matched so well, and I really liked it. In the pattern, it gives you instructions, or excuse me, in the pattern, it says to have 6 buttons, and it gives you instructions on how to make the buttonholes. But I must have not follow the directions properly because I don't know if you can see, I have 7 buttons, and this was honestly like the most fortuitous mistake I've ever made because I didn't do that on purpose, and I thought I had made 6 buttonholes because that's what the pattern says, and I chose this pack that happened to come with 7 buttons exactly out of my stash, thinking, you know, I don't care if it's going to leave one orphan button because I think the match of the color is just too perfect and I love them. And then as I was sewing them on, I realized I had 7 buttonholes anyway, so it worked out really, really well. I'm pleased with this. I'm wondering if blocking will actually change the fit of it, if blocking it vertically to make it a little longer will cinch it in a little bit. Maybe. I don't know. But it is a linen blend fabric. I believe it's linen cotton silk. I don't know. One of the many, many stash yarns I have left over from the company formerly known as Knit Crate. So it is a linen blend. It's beautifully soft, but I don't know how blocking will affect it that well as natural fibers like that. Plant fibers, I mean, mostly plant fibers. I don't know. I have a bunch more whips. I don't know, a couple of them are new. Let's talk about the old ones first. Let's talk about the, well, not boring, but the old news first. We've talked about before, I showed my Moonset tee that I'm making out of this Hobie cotton, which I think the texture is going to be really nice when it's done. It's a little drying to work on, but the texture of the finished fabric is really, really nice, and I think it's going to be a lovely t-shirt. We've talked before about the issues with tension with the vintage needles I was using and how I bought this set of fixed Chogu needles to fix it, and they worked perfectly. The tension has improved drastically since I employed those. I don't know if you're able to see it here, but the first half of this back panel was with the vintage needles that were giving me issues, and then the bottom part is much smoother with the new needles. I would also like to point out that while I love this and I think it's coming along very beautifully and it's quite polished overall, the shoulder pickup here is really quite sloppy and bothering me. And I have to just keep reminding myself that once the garment is finished and I'm wearing it, I don't have to look at that. It's going to be on the back of my shoulders. Even though it's not the end of the world, but the stitches are, it's almost like rowing out, but it's not. It's along a pickup edge. And honestly, I don't think the issue is with my pickup. I'm pretty sure the issue is with the German short rows I did in the beginning, because the construction of this is to cast on the entire width of the shoulders, and then you do German short rows to create like a little half moon shape before you add the length to the back. And I'm pretty sure that the way I did those short rows with, again, the vintage needles that were giving me issues, and with this cotton yarn that really requires a lot of attention to keep tension. I think that combination is what led to this very sloppy area. But again, I don't have to look at it. So I guess it's not a huge issue. But coming along on that one, I just joined in the round like yesterday because it's such a small gauge and it's fingering weight cotton. Again, it's drying, so it's not the most enjoyable to work on for long periods of time. So it's not something that I do for long stretches. I tend to do it for an hour or two here and there. So I've been making slow progress on that one, but now that I've joined in the round, I'm thinking maybe it'll go quicker, because it's going to end up being one of those sort of like on the go projects, since it's so mindless now, just stocking it until it's long enough. I'm very excited to have that one, because I did finish a Moonset tee last year that I truly love, and I think the fit is great, and I think I'm already liking the fabric that this one is making even better than the one I already made. Okay, the Moen cardigan, which has come quite a bit along since we saw it last. I'm really enjoying this. I can't wait to block it. I mean, I will wait to block it, because I don't usually block my projects midway, but I think I'm going to hold it upside down because it's curling upwards, and if I don't hold it this way, gravity will not assist. But I'm really loving it. You can see, let me just like kind of stretch it a little so you can get an idea of what it might look like when it's blocked out. It's really pretty. This side has the front panel done. So it's a cardigan. It is a bottom up cardigan where you work this big giant strip all the way across that goes all the way around your body. And then once you get to the underarms, as I did here, you split and you do underarm shaping while you do the front side panel. This is the front left panel. And then you go back and do the middle panel and the front right panel separately. And then obviously seam up the shoulders. And I haven't read the instructions for the sleeves yet, but I would imagine that they're knit flat and seamed in, because this is an adapted vintage pattern by Engineering Knits. And usually, historically, sleeves were knit flat and seamed in. And also just the way that this stitch pattern works, I think it would work much better flat. I mean, maybe it's in the round and I'll figure it out when I get to that part in the pattern. But as of right now, having done this much, I can't imagine how I would work this stitch pattern in the round. It would have a really strange jog at the beginning of round. So I'm pretty sure it's knit flat. But yeah, I'm really excited about this, and it's a super fun stash busting project, which, I'm kind of proud of me. Literally all of the projects that I have going right now, or that I showed as finished objects, are stash yarn. I do have one acquisition to share, but every whip that I'm showing you today is a stash bust project. So that's kind of a cool detail that I didn't think about before. I'm kind of proud of that. All right, this one I haven't talked about in a while. I don't think I even reintroduced it this year. This is another one like the Cottage core crop that I was working on last summer, and then when cold weather came around, I set it aside for the winter, and then I pulled it out again. I've actually made a lot of progress on this one this year. It is called the Zesty tank, I believe. It's a free pattern from Universal Yarn, and I'm making it out of this Hobie sock yarn that's like a superwash nylon blend that's a little like hairy almost, a little toothy. And it was an odd choice. I'm not really sure what drove me to start it, but I emotionally start projects all the time, so I'll just assume it was an emotional decision. I'm liking it. I'm a little iffy on whether I'll love it or not, but I did try it on and I thought it looked better when it was stretched out. So maybe after blocking and on a body, it'll look better. It's this sort of I don't know what the word for this sort of tank top is. It's a tank top, not a halter, but it's kind of got a trapezoid shape on the front and back that are symmetrical, and then the neckline is quite close. So right now I have finished, I believe this is the back. The entire thing is worked in this mock rib, or no, not mock rib, mock cable rib. So there's no actual cabling involved. It's a free pattern. So I don't mind saying it's one of those stitches where you knit two together, but then like don't pass them off the needle, and then you knit a second knit stitch in the first knit two together. So it kind of it takes two stitches and twists them, and then it makes it look like a cable stitch when there's no cabling involved. That was a terrible explanation. If you're interested, please seek out better tutorials on the internet. I am in no state of mind to explain stitches right now. Anyhow, that's the back, so you can kind of see the shape of it. And then I barely started the exact same shaping for the front. But again, it's a fingering weight yarn. It's very tiny gauge. For a long time, this was an extra on-the-go project that I would grab for traveling because it's in this small bag. It's really compact, and for a very long time, it's just a tube of this mock cable rib pattern. But now that I've split, not that it's particularly attention needing. Here goes my vocabulary again. It doesn't require a particular degree of attention. It's just there's decreases now. You know, it's one thing if I'm in the car, I like to just like go. You know, I don't necessarily like to work things that require any degree of thought. So, which, you know, I'm going on vacation soon, and I will once again be casting on special vacation whips that won't get finished probably for 6 months after vacation. But I'm going to do it anyway because I derive enjoyment from it, and I will, of course, make a video about it that will probably not be released all that soon because, you know, energy quotas. What is the word? Oh my gosh. It probably won't be released that soon because, as we've discussed, the struggle. But anyhow, okay, so this one I think is new. This was definitely an emotional cast on. I was having a rough week a couple weeks ago, and I decided that I wanted something really, really enjoyable, and I nailed it. I have had this on my queue forever. This is the Ripple crop top from Jessie Made, which is just this really cute ribbed cropped t-shirt. And I had been planning forever on using this yarn with it. This is the Tessie Merino from, what is it called? Traveler Knits, I think. I gotta have the tags in here. Hold on. Handmade Travels. Handmade Travels. And Tessie Merino is right. This is the colorway Juniper, not Jupiter. Although, it could pass for a Jupiter. Juniper. I remember this maker is local to where I live in Syracuse, and the merino all comes from Australia. I guess the dyer lives in Syracuse, but she used to live in Australia, so she has connections there. She knows the farmers that raise these sheep, and then so she has that connection. I believe her mill is in New Zealand, and then it gets shipped over here for her to dye. It is very lovely to work with. Once again, pretty small gauge, fingering weight yarn. However, this is pure joy to work with. This is absolutely the softest wool, like 100% wool that I've ever worked with. I truly love it. It is so enjoyable, very soft. I'm so excited to have this top. It's doing this sort of like spiral color pooling, which I kind of think I like. I only have the 2 skeins of it, and I do not plan on altering skein. I mean, oh my goodness, my brain is cooked. Okay, I do not plan on alternating skeins except when I'm going to phase in the new skein. I believe I will need all of this yarn to make this top. I would probably prefer to add a little bit of length to the top because it's a crop top and I do have a long torso. But according to the yardage estimates, I'm going to come in like right around exactly what I need. So I'm not going to add any length because I don't want, since it's bottom up, I don't want to get all the way up to the top and then find out when I'm on the second sleeve that I'm going to run out because I don't have the emotional wherewithal for that. Who are we kidding? So, I mean, obviously, I've got a long way to go. I don't remember how much more, but I mean, I can't even be halfway there, right? Because it's a crop top, but I need it to come all the way up to the underarm. So, a lot left, but it's really, really a gorgeous texture. It's one of the nicest yarns to work with, and I've really, really been enjoying that one. Okay, one more whip. Oh, you know what? I didn't bring it down. I forgot, but I have also been lately working a lot on my granny stripe blanket on adding mini skeins and scraps into that. It's an ongoing project. It is a bit longer than it was last time I showed it on here. I did put a picture in my Instagram stories the other day, so I'll like pop that up so you can see kind of where it's at. It's I used the same modifications as far as stitch count that Nitty Natty did when she made hers. So I think she said it's about queen size width, or like wide enough to fit a queen size bed. So it's long enough, as you can see in the picture, for me while I'm crocheting it to have it just cover my toes. And I'm fairly tall. I'm 5'8". So pretty long, but it's not halfway there. It's very enjoyable for me. I love having that option to buy little mini skeins as souvenirs when we're traveling or at like a yarn show or fiber fair or something like that, or to use for all of the scraps I have left over from superwash projects. I am only using superwash yarns in it because I would like to, as Nitty Natty demonstrated when she made hers, to be able to put it through the washing machine since it's so large. But haven't had a ton lately, but I did have a little stash of mini skeins left from travel last year that I hadn't worked into it. I found that pack of self-striping minis that I showed a couple podcasts ago that I found at an estate sale. And I had little scraps left over from other things, like the little dragon that I made for my nephew. After I did this pillow, I did have scraps left over of all 10 of the Sorella colors, even though some of them were very small. It's nice to work them in and have all the memories of both travel and projects and everything kind of in this timeline in the blanket. I think that's really enjoyable. So I have been spending time on that, but since I've worked through most of the yarn I had and I didn't feel like working on it anymore, that's back up in hibernation in a closet, so I don't have it to show you right now. Other than that, this is my last project and another one that I started on a whim just the other day, but I'm loving it. Last year I made a shell bikini. I know I showed the process on here for my trip that I took last summer, and I decided to make another one because I already have the pattern. I've been trying to think of something to do with this 100% cotton yarn. I only have 2 skeins of it, so it's DK weight. I possibly could make a top for myself. I'm primarily a garment knitter crocheter. I don't super love to make other things. I mean, sometimes I like to make things for my home, but for the most part, I really enjoy making garments and I don't really want to make other things. And I kind of couldn't think of what else to do with this. 2 skeins of DK is kind of borderline enough to make a top for someone my size, but it would have to be quite cropped. And I was sitting there thinking about how I want to use this yarn and I want to find something to do with it, but it would be a quite revealing garment. And then something in my brain kind of clicked and went, oh, I could just make a swimsuit out of it. It's perfect for that. It's cotton. I only have enough to make a revealing garment. Case closed. So I've started, this is all I've done so far. I haven't started the top. If you recall last time, I made the top first, and this pattern is super customizable. It's by Knitting Tipsy. Definitely recommend. The thing I love about it is that it's made to measure, so it's not like stitch counts, things like that. It's like, you know, crochet until you hit this point on your body or until it creates the coverage that you're looking for covering your body. And I love that level of customizability. And it's got this kind of lace pattern on the top, and it matches on the bikini top. So last time, since I started with the top, I got a little crazy and I did a few extra embellishments, and I made the top longer and it made the straps and everything. And then I came up way short on yarn to make the bottoms, and I had to go out and buy a bunch more yarn to make the bottoms. So this time I made the bottoms first, and I don't want to say I'm pushing myself. I'm not making myself uncomfortable, but I kind of made these a little lower than I made the last one, certainly, or than I might be inclined to make them, because I'm trying to be comfortable with my body. I think we all struggle sometimes being comfortable with our bodies. And I don't think there's anything wrong with mine, but I still have those reflexes to cover it up and to feel shame about it. And Knitting Tipsy is honestly an icon, and she's a beacon for body positivity. And this is one of her patterns. And as I was doing this and reading her instructions, I was like, you know what? She's right. I think I'm fine with that. And I think I would be comfortable maybe making this a little less fabric than I would have otherwise been inclined. So I tried it on and I do like it. These aren't quite done. The top, you might be able to see cinches in a little because I added some elastic in there, which is part of the instructions. And these leg holes will also get elastic, but I haven't done that step yet. And then with what I have left, I will make the top because I only have these 2 skeins. I have, oh my goodness, this partial skein left, which might be just enough to do the elastic around the leg holes, and then a whole skein for the top. So the last one I made was pretty evenly split. It was like 3 1/4 skeins for the top and 2 3/4 skeins for the bottom. So if we're half and half this time, the bottoms are a little skimpier. I guess the tops might be too. Okay, that's all for projects. I do have one little acquisition that I don't think I showed here last time. I don't think it was recently enough that I got this that I would have shown it, but I kind of can't remember. But I did go to local yarn store day, to my local yarn store, and I used up the last of my gift cards, and I got, no, wait, was it local yarn store day? No. No, that was the last one. Okay, no. The local yarn store day was like 2 visits ago. This was, they had a Memorial Day sale. So there's definitely no way I shared this yet, right? Because I haven't done a podcast since Memorial Day. So this is Lawn du Nord Cotton Soft. It's this kind of cool purpley gray. Guess what? It's a fingering weight cotton. That's who I am now. I can't stop myself. These are on sale. Thought it was really pretty. I had a coupon from local yarn store day. When you made a purchase on local yarn store day, you got a coupon for $10 off any purchase, no minimum purchase, to use in the month of May. So of course I wanted to use it because it's basically 10 free dollars, and I still had a little bit left on a gift card. So I used those 2 up, and then I ended up paying a small difference to get enough that I believe 5 of these is enough to do a t-shirt for myself or some sort of top for myself. I did have something in mind, but now I kind of forgot what pattern I was thinking of. These are 50-gram balls, so I got 250 grams. I think that'll be fun. I'm apparently in fingering weight cotton t-shirt mode for the season, so buckle up. That's going to be a lot of that. But I do have my patterns already picked out for my vacation, which is in a couple weeks. And I'm going to start getting that vlog ready soon and getting underway on that. So yet another teaser for things that I'm not ready to release yet, but that'll come eventually. Thanks again for your patience and your support. And I'm so appreciative that you're here and that you're subscribed, or that you're considering subscribing if you haven't already. And yeah, another podcast in the books. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you in the next one.